What's up, everybody? BigSweetC here with you. Got a special little video for you. Today, I want to talk about our new game. I know we've been playing a lot lately. There's been a bunch of really good stuff being released. But today, I'm specifically talking about Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, the new Team Ninja game that came out as a quote-unquote reimagining of the original Final Fantasy 1. And, well, I'm going to preface this off saying that I actually think that this could be one of the breakout hits of the summer. I really do think that this is actually a lot better than most people give it credit for. And it made me actually kind of start comparing it to some of the some of the other spin-off Final Fantasy games. And the one that kept getting my attention was Mystic Quest. And I say that very specifically because that spin-off generally was kind of frowned upon, and so I think it kind of got overlooked because it wasn't trying to be anything more than it was. And I mean that in a way that I've seen a lot of really good reviews on Stranger of Paradise, and I've seen kind of some all over the place reviews, and that's what I kind of want to talk about, because I think this game could kind of go either way. And so I kind of want to say that I think people that really like it kind of understand what type of game it's meant to be, and by that I mean they're not expecting it to be more than it is. I don't honestly think Team Ninja went out to create a game like maybe Sekiro, go out, or like an Elden Ring to be more, recent. I don't think they set out to make a cyberpunk, something that was attempting to revolutionize the gaming industry. I think they were actually trying to aim more for a fun multiplayer game with the possibility of expanding in the future. And what makes me say that is, I mean, Final Fantasy 1 is like the perfect game to kind of reimagine into that type of game. It doesn't exactly have like a deep story to begin with. And you see that in this update from Team Ninja. It's kind of cheesy dialogue. The characters are not really that deep. Their motivation is pretty skin surface. And but I think that's kind of the beauty of the game, because it's really meant to just kind of be played as opposed to, going through a story. And you don't really get the story in the original anyway. Like I was saying before, most of it is kind of spoon-fed to you at first, and then it dumps like basically a whole chunk of it onto you, and then you don't really hear about it again until maybe the end of the game. And so this kind of, the character development is not super deep in like story structure. But then on the flip side of it, the gameplay mechanics are super fun, and the actual character building is fantastic. Now, the character building is very reminiscent of kind of like a mix between Tactics and Dragon Age, in my opinion. The skill tree plays out like Dragon Age, but there's so many characters that you can choose from, so many job classes, that it reminds me of just making this like all-around jack of all trades in Final Fantasy Tactics, where you have 13 or 14 different job classes mastered. And that actually in itself allows a ton of replay value, putting together these different character builds that I think could actually be super amazing and put out a lot of hours of quality content. Then the gameplay itself is kind of like this strange mix between like Neo and God of War type of stuff. Even like the Assassin's Creed games, where you have these attack combinations, and then you can actually mix like combinations between job classes and stuff like that. It just has like the potential of like limitless potential in terms of gameplay and character building, that I don't think they really needed to focus that much on the story itself. The graphics look phenomenal. I'm playing it on Xbox. I've played it with my brother a couple of times. The multiplayer works really well. I've jumped in to complete Strangers games. Yes, I did kind of have to wait for a minute or two for it to find a game, but to be honest with you, I didn't even really notice the weight that much until I thought about it and went and looked, and until I was kind of trying to do this video. And like, I'm playing it on hard, and it doesn't seem too overwhelming. You know what I mean? Now, I know I did play the demo a little bit, so maybe just kind of familiarization with it helped me out through there. We'll get into more of the story and the stuff that I haven't played yet in the future. But as the game has finally, for lack of a better term, finally come out, because it was delayed a couple of times, I want to say. I kind of feel like this is a game that maybe needed to come out right now. You've got a couple of big ones like Elden Ring, that's like this gigantic world. And we haven't really had like outside of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, we haven't really had a quote-unquote new-ish game in the Final Fantasy franchise in a little while. And now all of a sudden we have like 2 or 3, because you got Chocobo GP came out. And so these like little offshoots that we've kind of been missing in the Final Fantasy franchise, this I think kind of makes up for, for a couple of years off of getting these spin-off type games. Now, I don't necessarily know. I know there's like Bravious and stuff like that, like the mobile games. I'm not big on mobile gaming, so I'm sure there's probably some side games that I've kind of missed here and there. But like recently, like I feel like I've seen mostly remake stuff and like Final Fantasy 14. Not really any other spin-offs other than that. So it's good to see that they're kind of doing this stuff again. But I just kind of wanted to put this out there because I think that this could, this is going to sound stupid, could go one of two ways. It's either going to flop or it's going to be a huge hit. And like, I mean, you could say that about basically any game. But this game specifically, I think it should be bigger than it's probably gonna be. And I feel like it's for the wrong reasons. Like I feel like people are gonna kind of expect it to be this like Elden Ring, Final Fantasy VII, but all-inclusive remake master type of just end of the world, type of game where it changes gaming for all mankind. And I don't really think that that's the type of game Team Ninja went to make. And so I think people are having bigger expectations of it than what they probably should, to a point where like you're not going to be able to fairly judge the game. Now, the reason I keep bringing up Elden Ring and earlier Cyberpunk, those two games were expected to be like game of the year, right? Cyberpunk was going to change everything, and every game after that was going to be the new Cyberpunk and not the new Skyrim. And it came out, totally shat itself, and I mean, I'm sure by now it's probably decent. But like, I mean, everybody's kind of swept it under the rug. And so it's going to go probably a lot more underappreciated than it probably should. But rightfully so, because they put out a turd of the game. Whereas this one, I think, is pretty polished already. And I think people kind of maybe expected something different. Expected something that it wasn't. They were expecting a Lord of the Rings book, and they got maybe a Harry Potter, So like two different styles of writing. You have old scripture versus like kind of new age ADHD type of stuff. And not to say that that's bad. I love Harry Potter. I love the Lord of the Rings. And that's why I think most people, if you are a fan of the Final Fantasy spin-offs, if you are a fan of like the Assassin's Creed game type of playing, not the story, the type of gameplay, or like the God of War types of gameplay, or the character development of like a Dragon Age, specifically the Dragon Age Inquisition. I think you would probably like this game as well. I know it's been compared to Dark Souls. I wouldn't really say it's Dark Souls in combat style, outside of the fact that you have these like little checkpoints that kind of remind me of bonfires, and when you do die, you can collect your blood echoes or souls or whatever. This I off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly what they call them. Your experience points, and so there are aspects that are the same, but you know, I really kind of think of this more of like like an Assassin's Creed type gameplay, where you have, like I said, common weapon attack combinations, and then you put like your special moves or your abilities into hitting certain buttons and whatnot. So it really kind of feels like an Assassin's Creed game in terms of gameplay as opposed to Dark Souls. But I do see the similarities between each. But if you like kind of action RPG type games and you like character building, specifically character building where you have a lot of different potentials, you know, you can go 15 job classes deep before you get bored with it. I do think that you would enjoy this game quite a bit, and the multiplayer does add a different aspect to it, because now in that case it's actually a lot like Dark Souls, where I just play in another person's world. I don't have to like follow them. I can actually show them secrets and stuff like that. So that in that aspect, it's a lot like being summoned in Dark Souls. And in my opinion, I think that's kind of cool. I think that offers a lot of replay availability and a lot of enjoyment out of the content that Square Enix has put out here. And I'm gonna give it probably a premature 2 thumbs up. It's probably more like a 1.5 because it's off to a really good start, but I haven't played it all the way yet. So who knows? It could just get ridiculous. But I've really enjoyed the little that I've played of it so far, and I just kind of wanted to put this out there because I don't want this game to kind of go the way of Mystic Quest. Mystic Quest was trashed on because it was kind of a kiddie game when Square was not trying to make like another Final Fantasy. They were trying to make something for the general public, and I think it kind of got looked down upon because it was something that was trying to be more accessible to everyone, a little bit more fun as opposed to grindy, and you know, trying to get people into RPGs in general. And I think this is kind of maybe, you know, trying to be that, trying to see what type of, you know, if people would enjoy this type of game. And if they do, perhaps, and it's successful, perhaps we get, you know, like Neo did with Neo 2, it really expands upon the complexity of the game. And I'm hoping it does successful enough for them to warrant an Origins Part 2 or a sequel. Or, God forbid, maybe they remake, like, Chrono Trigger in this fashion. Because, I mean, running around with 3 characters all at the same time, kind of doing this intermixtion, like, active battle screen. I mean, that's got Chrono Trigger written all over it, Holmes. So that would be kind of cool to see the possibilities of where this could go. But before I continue rambling on, I did want to make a comment. I've had a couple of comments on a previous video. I do make commentary videos like this one, so I do tend to ramble a little bit. I will do my best, I guess, to try and, you know, not ramble on forever. But that's the kind of videos I make. I make commentary videos. I don't make story videos. So it's a little bit more off the cuff, not so much scripted. And I kind of prefer it that way because it's commentary, it's opinion, my opinions specifically. And I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do me that favor, hit that like, hit that sub, hit that notification bell. If you've been enjoying Stranger of Paradise, let me know. We can get down on some multiplayer if you need some help. I'm always willing to play this. And keep on keeping on. I'm also over on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch if you want to follow me over there at BigSweetC. Either way, that's going to do it for this one. BigSweetC, that's me. Wishing YouTube that's you. Wonderful day, night, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it might be. As long as you're watching, I'm wishing you a wonderful watching time. Sweetness, signing off. Peace.